Proverbs 19:13 in the NLT. A foolish child is a calamity to a father. A quarrelsome or contentious wife is as annoying as constant dripping. Shalom, Kohalor, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash, double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule peace. Infinite salutation to the elect that are scattered abroad doing the work in truthfulness and sincerity. All right, and today's video is going to be inspired by the video I'm going to play, all right, which my lesson is entitled Stay Away from Keisha, which, you know, every now and then we got to get on Eve, man, you know, which we try to stay away from it, but when the Spirit allows, you know, when the Spirit says go, we jump on it, right? And the brother or the elder from GMS KC Prophets 3, he did a lesson, which I'm going to let his video play out. All right, part 1, Eve, listen up. You are the enemy to the Israelite man. And, you know, a lot was said in the video, but this is why we say, you know, stay away from Keisha, man. Stay away from the so-called black woman. All right. And if you can, you know, really just focus on Sophia, man. Because right now, the scriptures label these women as our enemies. But without further ado, I'm going to let this video play. Very heavy video. And I'll add some scriptures, you know, here and there. All right.
This is a warning to you Keishas, man. You nigga women out there. You so-called black women. This is a straight up. This is how Jake feel about you, man. And you know, I know we sound like broken records. And I don't make it, you know, my duty to just get on the women. But, you know, when the Spirit say go, it goes. This dude really cooked. And he basically spoke for 90% of Jake men. Well, I won't say 90% because you still got Jake out there that still swear about his woman that, you know, he owes her something. But this woman has proven time and time again that she doesn't care about you and that she's better without you, man. All right, and this is not talking to all you so-called black women because, you know, you got some sisters that's coming around and some that's starting to get it. But 95% of you women, hey, most of you just not going to make it. Okay, a lot of you just going to get straight up unalived in the most worst way.
Yeah, because of that pride, you know, that ego. And, you know, the so-called white man, the devil the Bible speaks of, has put you on a pedestal and gave you all these amenities and benefits. And it has gotten to your head to where the average, not even just the so-called black woman, just women in general, they feel deep down that they don't need men. All right. And they hate men. You know, really, you know, they can do bad by themselves, you know, on their own. So, and we're going to see when the time comes of Jacob's trouble, when all hell breaks loose, a lot of these women are going to get put to death in the worst way because of that ego, because of that pride, because of you know, shitting on your man. All right.
And it's because you're not taking heed to the warning that the Most High is speaking through his prophets. Hell, even the Israelite man in general is just warning you that they're fed up with your disrespect and your discontent and your nonsense. Every woman on the planet Earth of every ethnicity seems to have some type of respect for their man, but this black bitch, she always defies us, bro. And then when we don't come to our rescue, she's looking stupid. Well, you're not gonna have no protection when that day come. And Keisha, you burning your bridges, man. Okay, you burning your bridges like no other. So I'm gonna let this man cook.
And real quick, this goes back to the curses, which I'm gonna bring in a scripture before he allows the video to play. Deuteronomy 28:56, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Right, because in the ancient world, our women were delicate, tender, soft-spoken, you know, humble, quiet, you know, covered up. And now we live in a society full of shameless women. And we know the scriptures say a shameless woman shall be counted as a dog. All right. And that's why you see these women, they call each other bitches back and forth. But as soon as you call her a bitch, she bugging out, you know. which goes to show you that these women aren't mentally stable, you know. But Deuteronomy 28:56. But once again, it goes back to the curses. You know, this is the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28. The Most High set our women against us, you know. But Deuteronomy 28:56. But like the elder priest was going into too, like, you know, you got a handful of women, you know, so-called black women that are okay to deal with, you know, that they're not as bad, you know. But Deuteronomy 28:56, which is a very, very salakia, it's a very small amount. All right. Very rare to stumble across a so-called black woman that's actually humble, down to earth, quiet, so on and so forth. All right. Deuteronomy 28:56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. Yeah, so, and that's what we see today, you know. The woman putting the man on child support, the so-called black woman putting her man on child support, shitting on her man. She hates her children, you know. You know, you go to the, if you see a single mother, you know, she got six children by 6 different men, all the different men on child support. She on food stamps. You go into the house, you know, kids running around, shitty diapers, you know, snots running out of their nose, and, you know, just completely out of order. And here she is on the couch saying she don't need no man, you know, bugged out. But this is, once again, this is why mass judgment is coming to the Israelite woman, man. Mass judgment on a very high level, man. And this is why the elder apostles stay away from Keisha, bro. Stay the hell away from Keisha, bro. She ain't nothing but a headache, child support, and just straight demons. All right?
When that day come. And Keisha, you burning your bridges, man. Okay, you burning your bridges like no other. So I'm gonna let this man cook. It's like a 9-minute video. I may interject here and there before I get to my destination, but I'm gonna let bro cook. And he said everything. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. All right. So anyway, without further delay, here we go.
If men continue to impregnate black women, our children will continue to suffer. Elaborate.
Absolutely. Black women aren't really designed for families. They're not here to build with black men. They're really here to destroy the black community. So if we keep impregnating the same women, we're going to keep getting the same results. We need to find women who are not black men.
And you know what? He make a lot of sense. Now, there may be kickback to that. Like, you talking about, I love my kids. Well, the thing of it is, you may have access to your children, but you literally were hand in hand with the wicked, with this system under the vote of feminism and women's liberation to phase out your man. You don't even realize that you're utterly doing a job with the devil, man.
Yeah, which goes back to the serpent and Eve in the garden. All right? The serpent being Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, that same spirit, Eve, you know, going into the Israelite woman. You know, they made a pact in the garden. You know, she ate of that fruit, you know, and now you see the results of that.
Coming up against your man. And I know for a fact, because I experienced this personally, you know, of dealing with a woman that I have a child by, and she didn't want me to have no parts of the kid. If it wasn't financial, she didn't want me to have no parts of it, you know, to the point I had to fight to be part of my child's life. You know what I'm saying? Which you shouldn't have to fight to be part of your kid's life.
Yep. And that happens more times than not, you know, especially with Keisha, man. I hear brothers' stories all the time, man, you know, and you see it on social media, you know, a so-called black man deal with a woman, they get pregnant, and then next thing you know, the woman bugs the fuck out, you know, tries to take the child away, put you on child support, you know, which really just pushes you out of the kid's life. And then you're the problem, you know, which is why, you know, like, look, man, stay away from Keisha.
You know, and then when you just say, you know what, enough is enough, Then that's when the slander come out. He don't care. He this, he that. Wait a minute, man. You put Jake through hell to try to get his kids, man. And there's several brothers that go through that. They put us through hell just to try to have a relationship with our children, all because of their evil heart towards us, man. My thing is, if we're just so bad of men, then why the fuck you lay down with us? You know? But that's how bitter these women are. Okay? So let's go.
Yep, and nowadays, women will just lay down with whoever. You know? Women will just lay down with whoever. And that's why you got a lot of single so-called black women. And not just so-called black women, the Latino women, Native American women as well. You know, got 4 baby daddies, 8 children, you know. And she keeps making the same mistake because why? A lot of these women didn't have father figures in their life, didn't know what it is to have discipline, you know, weren't raised to be wives. You know, we're in a society where women are pretty much raised to serve Esau Edom, to serve the so-called white man, to listen to your boss, you know, listen to your manager, you know. But when and look, you got the so-called black woman, she'll go to a job and she'll listen to her manager and she'll say, yes, sir. But as soon as she comes home to her husband, you know, she's all disrespectful, talking down on him, looking down on him, which goes to show you these women are completely out of order, man. So you listen to the so-called white man at your job, but when you come home, you want to be out of order and contentious and start arguments and fight and not listen. Yeah, man, and it's not going to work. And that's why a lot of men are just not dealing with women anymore. And that's why the elder apostles, and I've been saying it as well, just quoting the elder apostles, the least dateable woman on the earth is the so-called black woman, bro. The least dateable woman, all right? The most single women are so-called black women. And why is that? And so-called black women will come on here and say, well, the man ain't shit. Well, nah, you got to look at yourself in the mirror. Maybe you're the problem.
I was gonna give you some pushback, but I agree on some of that. So, but I need you to elaborate when you say black women aren't here to build. What do you mean by that? Do you mean that if they hadn't have ever gotten broken, that still would have been their assignment to destroy the black community?
I think that if the culture was to change, things would change, obviously. But as long as these particular black women are alive, they're going to have a lot of influence on other younger black women. You can't really get away from it.
Absolutely. That's why you got your Sexy Reds, your Cardi B's. These women were set up. These women were set up in order to bring more destruction and degradation to our nation. That's why when you see the young girls today, they outside of all kinds of night. They don't have fathers. You know, the mothers allowing them to be whores. They're walking around with booty shorts on, skinny jeans. You know, and then the ones that have that independent mentality, they train their daughters up to go to college and be strong and make sure you make the All-Star Olympics. Instead of prepping them to be women and submissive to their husbands, they're prepping them to be another pawn in Esau's world, man. Make sure you go to college, which, you know, I ain't knocking nobody that's trying to do better because of the world we in, but that's still the wrong mentality to have. Instead of training her up for marriage to be a submissive woman, they train her to be submissive to Esau, you know?
Yep, and on top of that, you got social media that's training these women to be whores. You know, so not only are they training, you know, the school system and if they got parents, you know, training them to go to college and work for the so-called white man, but then on top of that, you got social media that's training these women, you know, and TV and all of that to be whores, you know. So, and that's why we see, you know, a mass decline in marriages. You know, you see a mass decline in pretty much women that actually have value, you know, which a lot of these men too, they're not, you know, they add into the problem as well. But a lot of these men, see, they were raised by single mothers. All right. A lot of these men were raised by single mothers. Okay. And that's why a lot of these men are effeminate, you know, and they're going to go into it in the video as well. But real quick, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and 13. Give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman. All right, because a woman, you know, you think about some wicked shit, and a woman is gonna far outdo that. You know, women will put you in a situation where you scratching your head like, what the hell? You know, you thought it couldn't get worse, and she will always show you why it can always get worse.
Because the world we in, but that's still the wrong mentality to have. Instead of training her up for marriage to be a submissive woman, they train her to be submissive to Esau.
Yep, and it's a never-ending cycle. You got these women that are up in age. You got these older women that women in their 40s and 50s ain't got no men, bitter as hell. You know, nobody wants to deal with them, and they're training the younger women up to just go be a hoe. You know, fuck these niggas and all of that, right? So, and that's why the Lord is going to bring a speedy riddance to the so-called black woman, man. Just wipe them all out. And, you know, like I said, there's a handful that the Lord is going to, that's dealing with, that's, you know, there's a handful of so-called black women, Latino women that the Lord is clearly, you know, showing and working with on a certain level to not be like that, you know. Certain women are coming around, you know, being in order. But for the most part, 95%, like the priest was going into, man, they all through, man.
You know? And then those ones that don't grow up without fathers, they can't really listen to you, man, because they don't understand what male authority is, because they only know authority from the woman's perspective.
Until you wipe the slate clean. So something has to happen to remove these particular black women from the scenario. And then we can build proper. But as long as
and that's why we're going to have a cleansing. Jacob's trouble. All right? A lot of these women are going to be caught up in the time of trouble that we prophesying about, with no man, no protection, no hedge. And the scriptures say a man shall be a hiding place from the wind. All right? And you got, you know, that vibration of I don't need no man. Whatever a man can do, I can do better. You know, the Lord is going to throw that shit out the window quick, overnight. All right? And then you're going to have a lot of insincere women that are not sincere, that are going to be trying to cleave unto brothers. Isaiah 4:1, you know, which Isaiah 4:1, it says what? 7 women shall take hold of one man. You might have it to where 100 women cleave unto you and only one of them is right. You might have 99 women that are just not sincere, and you can just read the spirit. So in that time, when shit gets real, when shit hits the fan, that's when women are going to want to try to get in order. But by then, for most of these women, it's going to be too late. All right? You've already been polluted. You know, you've had years and years of being a whore, years and years of being contentious and evil. And you think that's just going to change overnight? Nah, see, that spirit has been embedded in you, you know, which is why a lot of these women going to be left behind, going to get the stiff arm, man. This is Isaiah 32:2. And a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind. And the wind represents destruction. You know, a man is going to be a hiding place, protection. And in a time of anarchy, in a time of a war, pestilence, famines, you know, no more going to work, gas prices, $10 a gallon, women are going to realize that they actually need men. All right? But for like I said, for the most part, it's going to be too late. You done spent your whole life shitting on men, you know, selling your secret parts on OnlyFans, and now you want to come around? Nah, bro, it's too late. Isaiah 32:2. And a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. And this man is going into a man of the Lord, not just any man, which women are just going to want men in that day. Any man. You know, and now we live in a society where women are getting desperate. You know, women, you go to the club, and it'll be 60 women. And this is just from what I hear, you know, on different videos come up, women going to the club, 60 women, and there's only 2 men in the club, you know, because, you know, men ain't having it no more. You know, women getting desperate. You going out, you getting all dolled up. And really nobody even wants your ass no more. That's why you got the passport bros. You got brothers, you got men that are flying out of the country to go find women, which isn't a bad idea, because the American women, just American women in general, are through, done, polluted. Isaiah 32:2. And a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a cover from the tempest, as rivers of a water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. Yep. And like I said, most of these women is through, you know, but brothers like myself, you know, blessed to have, you know, I got a woman that's from the tribe of Levi, you know, and she, you know, she ain't too bad to deal with, you know, she you know, she tries her best. She ain't talking back all the damn time and giving me a hard time. And nah, man, she, you know, to the best of her ability, trying to stay in order, you know. But for the most part, like I said, bro, just stay the hell away from Eve, bro. Stay the hell away.
People, I was fully prepared to give this brother all of the smoke, but I can't find the one. When did you come to this understanding?
Years ago. And I discovered that if you, as a black man, if you want to be an active father in your children's lives, your children almost have to be mixed, because the black American woman will not allow you to be in your children's life. And the more you love that child, the more she's going to use the child.
And I know that for a fact, because like I said, I mean, it comes down 1448. 1448, that's the spirit called law. How about you, Mount Shai 777? But I know that from experience. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. I mean, we will fight over something as small as not feeding my daughter pork. I said she can't eat pork because this is not. We're not gonna do that. I didn't want her to eat fast food. I didn't want to eat pork. I wanted her to be in a certain curriculum, and it was to the point that I would have had to kick this bitch ass because it was gonna go there. And I'm like, before I have to put my hands on this bride, I gotta, you know what? You got it. Fuck it. It is what it is. Because see, the court systems, they side with women like that because they're set up to destroy your kid. And then when you just say, you know what, you're not dealing with it anymore, then like I said, the slander come. I've even witnessed in my own household as a kid that with my own father and mother, I remember my father came over to the house and he was trying to introduce me to his new fiance. Him, I kid you not, him and my mom been broken up for fucking years. Like, you know, they've been broken up for years. They not even dealing. Like, I was a teenager at the time, you know. You know, I had been dealing with them for years. I mean, Salaki, they haven't dealt for years. And he comes over to the house and he said, I want to introduce you to my lady. So lo and behold, that shit went left, because as we walked to the house, my mom started bugging out. And at that point, I watched her push my father out my life. And the next time I got in contact with my father was it was the same month he ended up passing away. I talked to him a day before he died, and I never got to see him in person prior to his funeral, besides that day, and that was 5 years later. You see, so I understand what this dude is talking about firsthand. These women ain't shit, bro. You know, and I'm not saying all of them are wicked, because I mean, you know, like I said, you got some decent sisters out there. I so happen to run into a very noble, decent woman, and she's a so-called black woman. She's a Benjamite, and you know, she's done right by me. I'm not even gonna lie. I have nothing bad to say about her at all. You know, I mean, of course she annoying like all women, and she gets on my nerves. But the point is, you know, I don't worry about her committing adultery. I don't worry about her being outside a certain time of night. You know.
Yep. And if you got that, brothers, you are blessed. Blessed beyond belief.
She does what she does, and she go home, and she ain't out here trying to be with a bunch of bad. You know, the Lord, He looks out for us, man. You know. So I've witnessed that, both sides of it. But this man, everything he said is on point. I can't even scoff it.
Damn. This brother's up here dropping that ether. Have you witnessed this before in your immediate proximity, in your family's life, and friends' lives, things like that? The difficulty associated with it?
Absolutely. I have cousins, sisters. I've seen this behavior perpetuate itself throughout my entire lineage. And I respect everyone. I love everyone. You do whatever you want to do. But if you're a thinking black man, I don't think you can sit down and try to build with a black American woman. Maybe an African woman, maybe a Caribbean woman, Asian, Hispanic, but not a black woman, not a black American woman.
Damn it.
Yeah, and even the Hispanic woman is not too far behind now, because the Hispanic woman is following right after Keisha. The Puerto Rican woman, Cuban woman, she ain't nothing but Keisha 2.0 at this point.
Damn it.
That's why they put on, you got the Latina woman, which, you know, the curse of, you know, the woman losing her hair, that was really to the Southern Kingdom. That's why a lot of Southern Kingdom women wear weave. But now you even got Latina women who got hair, and they'll put weave in their head, and they'll put the fake eyelashes, and they'll do all this because they just following right after Keisha.
Listen, you guys know me. If I were to try to give him some pushback, you guys would call me hypocrites because you heard me say everything that he's saying right now, dozens and dozens of times. When you hear men like this displaying their contempt, there's a problem. There's a problem. If men view the women like this, where are we going to get the kids from? Because quality men won't lay down with women like this. So that means these women will only other options they'll have is to lay down with other broken men. And then what do you think comes out of that for who?
Yeah, your Pookies and Ray Rays, and that's why your YNs come from, man. And that's why this woman, she's not gonna have any protection. Okay, Eve blatantly spat in the face of our Lord.
Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out with this. This is Ecclesiastes 7:26, and I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and hands as bands. Whoso pleases God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. All right, so, and this is King Solomon. King Solomon had 1,000 women. And he said, look, I find something that's more bitter than death is the woman. You know, whose heart, her mind is a trap, you know, constantly trying to trap you up, you know, trying to manipulate, you know, be toxic. And that's why, brothers, if you don't got one, don't seek one, you know. And hey, just focus on Sophia, man. Stay the hell away from Keisha. And we gonna see these women, they're gonna try to come around in the worst time, and for most of them it's gonna be too late. All right. So hey, with that, call Yahweh Shai. Till next time, I say shalom.